wherever it was, and then they got the right moisture content, and they rolled it, and then they rolled out some of that geotextile cloth over the compacted formation. Then they put some tar on it, and then they rolled out the geo cloth, which is a sort of a Dacron, grey Dacron. And then after they did that, they tarred it again. They put some rock chips on it and it was supposed to last a while. And he got a lot of road for the money. It's still sound after all these years. It's still there. They haven't had to remove it. The only place they removed it from was in the Gum Creeks, where the water got under the edge of it and rolled the geotextile cloth up, and off it went down the creek. Now, in the end, Roads Minister, the Honourable Duncan Gay, he wanted to get it finished. He wanted the job done. He was very, very keen to get it done. And he poured money into it. I took him up to Packsaddle Creek one day. He gave me 4 hours. He landed here and I had lunch on board for him and his penciler, and off we went to Packsaddle Creek, Packsaddle Mountain, and he had a look at the Packsaddle Crossing. Now, the Packsaddle Crossing was shocking. If anybody didn't know about it, they went over the edge, straight in there, truckload of cattle. The rhubarb hit the bottom in the creek. And of course, the cattle all fell down in a heap, and the driver had jarred teeth. It was a shocking thing. Anyway, he had a look at that, and 2 weeks later he said, there will be a bridge across Packsaddle Creek. And of course, Packsaddle Creek Bridge was part of it. It's a beauty, 4-span concrete. And then there's an emergency airstrip to its north, about 35k to the north. So although the Packsaddle airstrip's very good, being on a limestone ridge, they've got that one up there too. Now, the other fellow who I've got to give some credit to is John Elliott, out the other side of Wilcannia there. And he took every opportunity in Sydney and the bush to promote the sealing of both highways, the Silver City and the Cobb. He put a lot of work into it. He could even get a tear trickling down his cheeks every now and then when he was talking about his poor old goat producers and how they couldn't get their goats out along the Silver City Highway. He was pretty good at it, and he did a lot of good, worked a lot of good. Now, he's going to be rewarded quite soon because one of the teams from Tibooburra has gone over to finish the Cobb Highway. It'll be finished by the end of June next year. And the other team is going back to what they do best. They've got 4 heavy graders up there. Whole 4 have dozer blades on the front, and they're going to hop into the unincorporated area roads and straighten them out properly. That'll be Neville Monaghan's crew. Now, all New South Wales highways will be sealed at the end of June, and that's pretty important. Some of them unsealed themselves a bit over east there, I believe. If you go past Dubbo, you can get into a lot of trouble with highways. They've sort of washed away, potholed. They're shocking past Dubbo. Now, the road has been sealed, the whole Silver City Highway from Broken Hill North, to a terrific standard. And the last bit they did, the 50k in from Warry Gate into Tibooburra, is absolutely magnificent. You wouldn't find a better highway anywhere. They've had all the good gear. They've had about 65 people working on it for 2.5 years now, and they got it finished on time, like about 3 weeks ago. So the job now is to get the Queensland Link sealed. And the ABC rang up Vicky Jackson from the corner store, and she said there was 190 left to do, which is not. There's 130 left to do. Queensland is putting a bit of money into the Shire, Ballou Shire, and they're putting a little bit in from time to time, working on it steadily. It take about 15 years or more to do it. Now, I think that there might be a bit of movement in the federal scene, because that road at the moment is a Ballou Shire road, and of course the feds can't get involved unless it becomes a highway. But they would have found out by now that when Darwin was starting to run out of food and they couldn't get up the Stewart Highway, the railway line couldn't get there either, because it washed away between Tarcoola and Port Augusta. There was 18 breaks in the railway line there, and it took them over a month to fix it, and all the canned stuff and soft stuff and processed stuff goes from the eastern states to Perth. They don't produce too much over in the west, apart from a lot of iron ore. It gave them a nasty shock, and the railway line was cut badly. So the feds might have a bit of a look at that, and they might have to step in and get it done as a backup. You know, that was all dry and inland and straight through if it had been sealed. But as you know, trucks don't use roads that have got no tar on them. They get dirty wheel nuts. Now, the road, Melbourne's linked to Darwin, will be linked to Darwin, Perth to Brisbane, and it'll be used a lot by trucks by way of Broken Hill. And it should be, on the other one is Adelaide, just about direct to Cairns past here, just about a straight line, Adelaide to Cairns. It should be progressing quickly right now, but it is not. And we've got work to do still to get Australia to that momentous day. And that's just about got me completed, apart from the fact that got me just about completed. Goodness me, I can't find anything else on this bit of paper. Should be some here. No, that's enough. I said, I did get to say that I'd written hundreds of letters over the years to get some work done on it. And that I'll be talking about it tonight at the Do, roughly what I've just told you. And somebody said, what are you going to tell us tonight? I said, I bought 8 of my letters along. I didn't think that was a good idea, so I brought this along instead. Okay, thank you very much to the Broken Hill City Council and staff for listening to me. And I think it's very sad that it wasn't able to be recognised more by the people who put effort into it and the City Council who's going to benefit tremendously from it, particularly when the last bit is sealed in Queensland. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Look, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to acknowledge the work that Peter has done over the years. John Elliott, who's also been a great advocate, and Peter Black. And, you know, the sealing of this road is so critical to our tourism, to our industry, to our community. But it's, you know, the great pioneers like Peter and John Elliott and Peter Black that really believed in this project. So congratulations to them all.
Thank you, Councillor Turley, and thank you, Peter. You finished with a minute and a bit to go. You used almost a full 15 minutes of public question time. Well done.
Just one other thing, Mr. Mayor, if I
yes,
could.
Councillor Gallagher.
It is a great thing that the Silver City Highway all the way to Warwick Gate has been sealed. And it's got to know that Peter Black did start it. He did go through and done a lot of work. But it's good to see a couple of other Barwon and Murray Darling MP's done a great job too. Mr. John Williams was one, and Kevin Humphreys, if you like him or hate him, he actually done a lot of work. I'm not talking for the Nationals and I'm not supporting the Nationals, but I'm just going to say credit where credit's due to those MPs absolutely forging and getting that highway, giving it to Broken Hill and making our destination a spot which tourism and everything else can come to the greatest city in the world.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Minutes for confirmation. Can we have a mover and a seconder for the minutes?
I'll move that way.
Move Councillor Gallagher, seconded Councillor Hickey. All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Brown.
Just a question. I don't know whether it's my memory is failing, but I don't recall the address by Ms. Annette Turner being on the agenda for the last meeting. I don't recall that being mentioned at all. Maybe it's an apology that's come since.
An apology, yeah.
Was an apology given at the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other speakers? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Disclosures of interest. Any councillors have any disclosures of interest? Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I've got a non-pecuniary interest in supplementary agenda item number 1, the mayoral minute. And reason being, I'm the general manager / secretary manager of the Broken Hill Musicians Club. and I will leave the chamber.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Before we go to the supplementary agenda, which is mayoral minute number 1, I'd just like to move a verbal mayoral minute, which I've just written down somewhere. Oh, there it is. That Broken Hill City Council will liaise with Mr. Peter Bevan to formulate a letter of thank you to those involved in the sealing of the Silver City Highway from the Broken Hill City Council. We have a seconder for that? Yep, no, I'll give councillor Turley, she was just probably the quickest. I think this is important, as the councillor said, and I think when that is written, take comments from councillor Gallagher as well about John Williams and also Kevin Humphries as well into account. Any other councillors like to speak? No, pretty straightforward. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So mayoral minute supplementary number 1, councillor Boland is leaving the room. So the government's proposal for mandatory cashless gaming cards. Number 1, that the mayoral minute number 1722 dated 20th of September 22 be received, that it be noted that the support that the regional local registered clubs provide to the community of Broken Hill by way of grants, employment and services, and congratulate them for the support. The Broken Hill City Council send correspondence to the New South Wales State Premier, the New South Wales Leader of the National Party, the New South Wales Opposition Leader, our local MP Roy Butler, and Minister Dougal Saunders, stating that the Broken Hill City Council does not support a mandatory cashless gaming card, using the summary as reasons. Can we have a seconder for that? Seconded, Deputy Mayor Hickey. I'll just briefly speak to it. There's a bit in the summary. The registered clubs in Broken Hill have 9,000 members. They deliver over $500,000 to locals into the community. A lot of those are sporting clubs, social clubs, arts, education, students. So they do a wide range of activities that keep a lot of these associations going. Casual gamblers won't register for a gaming card. These are the people that put in $20, $30 when they're just sitting there. Adds up really quickly and often and accounts for 30% of a club's revenue. The upfront cost for these to do these machines is around $10,000. Without a doubt, it will also result in people holding these things against the clubs themselves rather than the government that implements them. Anything that the government, I support the government addressing problem gamblers, but not at the expense of local communities and not at the expense of the clubs themselves, who are so important to regional communities. Is there any other speakers? Well, it's pretty bad out there. So, yeah, Councillor Brown.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak against this proposal. It's not that I'm not convinced that the cashless gaming card is necessarily the way to go, but I mean, this is a really important issue. I do recall that there was some media not too long ago which highlighted the fact that Broken Hill is one of the largest sort of centres of gambling in New South Wales, and for people who are addicted to gambling, this is clearly the reason why this proposal is I think the centrepiece, as I understand it, or one of the centrepieces of the government's program coming into the election, is that it is a serious problem. This minute talks about the implications of introducing this card, but I think I would also like to see a little bit more attention paid to the social implications of the pretty rampant gambling and on this community as it is now. I suspect that there are many people, and that's why I'd like this information, whose lives are being severely affected, and families who are severely affected by excessive gambling. So, I mean, I'd like to move that we defer a further consideration pending a report on the effects, the social and economic effects of gambling in Broken Hill.
Do you have a seconder for your amendment, councillor?
I'm happy to second that, Mr Mayor.
All those in favour of the amendment? All those opposed? The amendment's defeated. Do we have any speakers, further speakers for the motion?
Yeah, look, I'm totally in favour of the motion. I understand what councillors are saying about, you know, the problem gambling and all that. And I've done the RCA course and that, been involved in it, and it's not going to stop it whether you do that or not. But the cashless thing would destroy a lot of sporting clubs. Most of the sporting clubs survive here on money from the musos, from the demo, from each of the clubs. They'd just be broke without them. They couldn't survive. And the race clubs, all that, they get a lot of money. And I know it comes from gambling, and it is a problem. However, all the people that are in the clubs are trained to look out for people that have got problems, to help them with the problems. There's lots of avenues for it. And I just think this is just a way of finding out who's spending and where they're spending it. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Can't
Yeah.
speak against, councillor Turley?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And like councillor Brown, I think at this stage, I would like further information. And we've seen in the past, I think the first professor of gambling actually was someone from Broken Hill. And we've seen great legislation changes where everybody was concerned that this would impact the income for clubs, the viability for clubs, little things that we don't think about now. You know, the fact that there's timing on machines, there's lights in the gambling rooms, there's spaces where they're sealed off. So we don't know what we don't know. And one of the things is that what will the impact be? What is the current impact for our community? Now, most of us don't have an addiction of any sort, but we do know that the communities do have addiction, and it is heart-wrenching, the impact. And I just feel that this is an issue that we should not only be informed about what is the current social impact and economic impact on our community, but what does our community think about this proposal? I'd be really curious about, do the community support it or don't? As I said, I'm not fully informed about it, but I would like to be. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Any further speakers? Similar programs have been introduced before in Canada. Canada and Norway, mandatory cashless cards. It did nothing for problem gamblers. It just drove problem gamblers into illegal sites on the website. The reality is you must address the addiction. You can't hide the addiction from people. It's no difference from drug addiction or any other addiction. To say you can't have heroin in one area but you can have it anywhere else you like does not address the problem of drugs, as it does not address the problem of gambling. This legislation that's proposed comes straight out of the Crime Commission, not because of concern about problem gamblers or anyone else. It was about laundering of money. It was found that using gaming machines as opposed to casinos, where it's much easier to launder money, and where this report come from as opposed to gaming clubs, machines are inefficient, high risk and not widespread because it's a poor way to launder money. But this is the main reason that this has been spoken about, and this is a way of the New South Wales government shirking their responsibilities. If they were serious about reducing problem gambling and the losses from problem gambling, they'd reduce the rate of loss per spin. When we were younger, the rate of you could lose in an hour was a few $100s. Now you can lose thousands of dollars in the same amount of time, simply because the government is addicted to poker machine revenue. This is nothing to do with helping problem gamblers. This is about the New South Wales government tracking those same problem gamblers to collect data. It won't stop one problem gambler from being a problem gambler. What it'll do is it will cut revenue from our major licensed clubs in town by 30%. And that means that we will lose 2 out of our current 5 clubs. That's that simple. 30% is 2 of our clubs. So we'll go from 5 clubs, which we currently have, down to 3. If the government was serious, they'd reduce how much you lose per spin and then reduce New South Wales government gaming taxes. So instead of collecting the amount of taxes that they currently receive, they're addicted to government poker machine tax. And let's make note, let's not pretend any other way. That's both Coalition and Labor. They're not going to give up the taxes. Of course they're not. So if they were serious, reduce the spins, and then some of those problem gamblers who lose $1,000 in a night will only lose $200 in a night, and that's quite able to cope with that amount. But to do that, they must also subsidise the clubs when they're taking that revenue off of them. Let's see if the state government does that. I'm sure they won't do that because they're not going to give up any of their money. All those in favour? All those against? In favour was Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Page, Councillor Chandler, Councillor Hickey, and myself. Against was Councillor Turley and Councillor Brown. Declare the motion carried. Come down. That motion was passed. Notices the motions are nil. Item 12, rescission motions are nil. Reports from delegates. We have one report. The report is for the attendance of the Australian City Mining's Alliance. Do we have a mover, Councillor Hickey? Move that way. We have a seconder, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Hickey would like to speak to that. You do. However, you
read the
like.
report. I will read the report. Councillors report to the AMCA meeting at Karratha. Mayor Kennedy, fellow councillors, General Manager Jay. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity for the General Manager and myself to represent Broken Hill at the recent AMCA meeting and tour of Karratha. Again, a very worthwhile trip with good meeting and very interesting and informative tour of the district. AMCA has issued a newsletter which I've distributed and put into the minutes. The motion has now been progressed. Number 1 on the agenda was the further promotion to the government to have nil FBT on housing, loans and rent in selected remote mining cities and areas. The motion has now progressed to the Budget Estimates Committee for assessment. AMC meeting moved that a delegation meet with the Budget Committee in Canberra when they meet in February 2023. It's extremely important to Broken Hill. The power of the AMCA's board is very formidable, and we're finding the ministers throughout Australia are now mentioning us in reports and meetings, and therefore we are being recognised amongst state and federal governments. Each achievement will just make it stronger and get more credence where it is needed. This was a twofold trip for the General Manager and myself as we inspected numerous types of dwellings and dongas situated within the city of Karratha and learned a lot of the do's and the don'ts when looking for mine working temporary housing within our city. We also had the opportunity to view the multi-storey medium density residential housing projects, which is used to house mostly government service and staff, being teachers, nurses, police, etc., which helps to alleviate the general local rentals within the city, and exactly what Broken Hill requires now, as they are currently positions for an additional 17 police, something like 80 at the hospital, which a lot of those can't find accommodation. Teachers, each of the teaching and schools have said they just can't get teachers here because there's no accommodation. And they can be filled with suitable accommodation, and another 34 if we get childcare. All in all, I believe it's a very important board which can help Broken Hill grow and achieve and give us the best contact with all sections of state and federal governments. Also, I request approval to attend the meeting in Canberra in mid-February once the meeting has been arranged. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hickey. Any other speakers? Would you like to speak at all? No. Yeah, very good point by Deputy Mayor Hickey. I'm sure most read in the newspaper today, we have a vacancy of only 0.6% in the city, which is the 6th lowest in the state. So it's really important, some of those things that are being investigated, particularly around housing and the fringe benefits tax is another big one. So thank you to both the Deputy Mayor and you wanted to like say? one
Yeah,
more?
just didn't know whether the general manager wanted to speak about our excursions while we're over there or not.
I'll leave that one to you, Deputy Mayor.
Our general manager got chased by a dingo. All those in favour? Carried unanimously, thank you. Move on to reports. 14, the Works Committee. Item 1 is the Gibson Street Health Arbitrus Report. Do we have a mover for that? Move councillor Page, seconded councillor Gallagher. You like to speak to that, councillor Page? Yep. No, I can't. It's not working.
Yeah, that one.
I must apologise. Yeah, it's a big issue in this town, and I think at the standing committee it was made clear, a lot more work should be done in this area because it's a safety issue. If we know it's a danger, anything goes wrong, we're liable. So I'm glad you've made a move on this, Mr. Mayor, and well done.
Any further speakers? Any further speakers? Yes, councillor Page. I'm sure it was a big issue many years ago when you were mayor as well. It's one of the things we probably all as councillors hear about is trees. No one likes to cut down trees, but by the same token, we don't want to have trees that are injured that potentially can die and do damage. So it's really important from a council perspective and a community perspective that any tree that is potentially deemed as dangerous is removed and replaced. So the good thing is every tree that is removed is replaced 2 to 1. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. B, the Health and Building Committee. Item 1 is the Gurra Arts Memorandum of Understanding. Do we have a mover for that? Moved councillor Chandler, seconded councillor Turley. Councillor Chandler.
Yeah, it's good for this Gurra Arts to have this understanding. The more local art groups we can get working through the art gallery, it'll encourage more younger people coming through to join those particular groups, especially this Gurra. It's mainly the women, so a lot of people want to have a go, but they won't. But if there's a group there that suits them, they'll come straight in, and we've got a better chance of getting the more artists in Broken Hill and getting them trained up.
Thank you, councillor Chandler. Any other speakers? Look, I think it's real. Yes,
Sorry.
councillor Turley.
I was just going to say exactly, councillor Chandler, I absolutely support what you're saying. And I think Gurra Arts is one that's grown from the early 2000s to such a strong group. And like the Williama Art Society, having an MOU with council not only providing support, but nurturing the arts is critical to the growth of our arts in Broken Hill.
Thank you, councillor Turley. Couldn't agree more with both councillors' experience of some of the, many of the artists on the Gurra Arts Society will allow new artists to actually learn from some of the artists. And when you have an MOU with such an outstanding gallery as the Broken Hill City Art Gallery, and the potential to hang some of your pieces within that art gallery makes it a very appealing society to be part of. From my perspective, and I'd hope that councillors are exactly the same, these MOUs are a great opportunity to help build our art societies and the different groups that are from within the city, increase memberships within those societies and grow the art community in Broken Hill. All those in favour?
Mr. Mayor, can I
Yes,
just make a
councillor
comment?
Page, sure.
I was reading this report today and I can't find it here. in the report, is it about the schools being invited and being part of it? Is it in this report? I'm sure I read it today.
So in this one, it was about the ladies artists, but council does have an agreement with the schools anyway, and there
Yeah,
won't be
okay.
any, that won't change.
Yep,
That's something
well,
that
Okay,
was around well before you
Yeah,
were mayor, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah.
think would go for a long
all
time.
right, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Move on to policy in general, item number 1, adoption of the draft Broken Hill Economic Development Strategy. We have a mover for that.
I'll move that way.
Councillor Boland, seconded Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Boland.
I'm just having a councillor Page moment, hit the wrong button. It must be the December meeting. I spoke about this at the steering committee. This is an important document. It basically will sell Broken Hill to investors both internally and externally of the city. And once we get them interested and excited and wanting to invest in Broken Hill, then we can hit them with some cold, hard facts and figures. But ultimately, this document will be sent out to people internally, externally, to paint a good picture of the city and where we're heading. And it's exciting times, and looking forward to this being printed and becoming part of council.
Okay, sure, Councillor Boland. Any other speakers?
Just wanna
Councillor Gallagher.
Yeah, just want to say it's the document's well written, it's well produced, and I commend the authors of this document. Done very, very well.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Just briefly to say that the economic development strategy for this council is a document that we've developed to sell Broken Hill to potential investors to the city, potential residents who want to move to the city, or potential workers who may read that document, whether that be teachers, nurses, police, miners, cafe workers, or any other industry that Broken Hill has. When you have a document that sells positivity, you're more likely to move to a city that people think are going to be a happening, growing city. There was 3 submissions, and we're always thankful of those submissions. One submission was a little bit critical for a lack of detail. At some point in time, council may add an appendix to that, which will include detailed strategies how to achieve some of the things that are written within that report. But that report's been written in a manner that's easy to read, and will sell Broken Hill to people that are from outside Broken Hill. So that's why it's so important that it be a positive, well-written document. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, the advocacy strategy refresh. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brown, seconded Councillor Turley. Councillor Brown, you'd like to speak to that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just had a question. And I may have missed something in reading this report, but at the committee, we talked about a couple of things that maybe needed to be updated. I mean, Mr. Bevan earlier mentioned the completion of the Silver City Highway. I couldn't see where it's been that bit has been changed, and we also mentioned the need to include something about an affordable, permanent water supply, and in part to deal with the lead program. It may be just my fault, I didn't read it closely enough, but I couldn't see where that had been changed.
No, you're right, Councillor Brown, but the item itself remove reference to, and this is a good one for you, Mr. Bevan. So item 2 is remove reference to advocacy of the sealing of the Tibooburra Road, include advocacy for sealing regular maintenance of the tourism regional routes, include advocacy for increased lead remediation, and include advocacy for, so that would be added. Oh, okay. So yeah, it is there. Councillor Turley?
Look, I just wondered if we should also include like a point 5, and that is that we actually forward this document when council endorses it to the political parties in planning for the state election. I mean, we've actually got, it could be amended after the state election, but I think we need to be clear as the elections are being, the elections will start, well, it hasn't been declared yet, but I think we need to be very clear what our priorities are and that we make sure we advocate to those political parties to ensure that they become part of their election promises.
Yes, Councillor Brown, you happy to accept that as an addendum to what you've moved? We probably should also include the fringe benefit tax that we, yeah, that's in there. Yep. So there you go. That's one that I didn't read, Councillor Brown. Yeah, look, I think it really is important that we do make sure that political parties know what we're advocating for. Councillor Brown, you'd like to say another?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor. I think that, and
Yeah.
that was my main concern, that it hadn't actually been updated. We don't want to include things like the sealing of the
Yeah.
highway, since that
Yeah.
has obviously been done.
Yeah. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 3, the draft agency information guide. Do we have a mover for that? Move Councillor Turley, seconded Councillor Boland. Councillor Turley? All good?
It's the annual process.
Yep. Item number 1, further reports, 15 further reports. Item number 1 is delegates to the New South Wales Rural and Regional Summit on 20th of,
You didn't vote
February.
on that one, Mr. Mayor.
Hey?
You didn't vote on the last one, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
didn't I? No, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 15, item 1, delegates to the New South Wales. This is just going on from what Councillor Brown said. This will have all the leaders at the forum on the 21st of February. So it's probably one that it would be good if we could get a few councillors over there via car rather than plane. So open it up to the floor, those that would be willing to go. Councillor Page, Councillor Gallagher, Councillor Chandler. Yeah, well, maybe 2 cars. Councillor Brown, you like to go? It'd be good if we could all get over there. This is one where we can all push that advocacy, and it's one where also it's a regional rural summit. This is one of the first few, is it?
It's the inaugural Rural and Regional Summit, and we've partnered with the country mayors.
Yeah.
And so we'll have the summit, and the next day we take those issues to the country mayors
Yeah.
leaders forum.
Yeah. So look, it's really important in this. This is the first one, and we can't sit here and whinge that city councils are the ones pushing the direction of local government New South Wales if we don't make an effort to have ourselves go to that. So any other speakers? All those in favour? Carry, Councillor Turley, you want to say something?
Mr. Mayor, are you attending yourself?
Yes,
I
or
think
less
it's just
changes.
missed your name.
Yeah. And Councillor Hickey, Deputy Mayor Hickey. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Enough space for all shapes, youth mural. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Turley. Councillor Page, you'd like to speak to that?
I think it's quite a good idea. We're known as a town of arts, and yet we haven't progressed as quick as we should have, including my time on council. So I think it's long overdue, Mr. Mayor.
Any other speakers?
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Boland?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the original building was the aquatic stingrays, and it's being moved to wood panelling behind the Broken Hill City Art Gallery. Is that correct? And I also note the reduction in the budget as well, which is a good outcome for all involved. But yeah, I note the change. It's now on boards. It'll be installed at the side of the Broken Hill City Art Gallery.
Yes, so it'll be then a portable mural. The building in the Sturt Park, the Aquatic Stingrays, is their building. they are looking at a mural that would signify swimming in that area as opposed to what was a nice looking generic mural or coloured and that sort of stuff. But they are more interested in one that reflects the swimming history of Broken Hill. So this was a decision that had been made between all parties for the best outcome. An agreement made by all parties for the best outcome. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Investment report, item number 3.
I'll move that way.
Moved councillor Boland, seconded councillor Brown. Sorry, wasn't watching. Councillor Boland.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. Just one note is the term deposits, the interest rate is heading up with the $500,000 12-month term deposit is now at 4.4%, up from 0.7%. So cash is quickly becoming less risky than in shares. And I note that our share portfolio has returned about 0.2% in the same time. But all the economic data is certainly pointing towards the end of cheap money, and cash is quickly becoming a good investment option once again.
Thank you, councillor Boland. Could we, for the next policy in general, just have a report on some strategies going forward, if that would be all right? Thank you. Any other speakers? No? All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item number 4, councillor Gallagher's favourite, the action list. Councillor Gallagher moved, seconded. Councillor Page. Might as well.
Wish we could get some more green there, but it's going that way.
Thank you, councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. So we have questions taken on notice from the last meeting, and there was a number of questions during that meeting. One of them, which I haven't noticed here, was a question from councillor Turley about Rex Airlines. Did Rex and the generator, just to the general manager?
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Yes, Rex were informed, as we discussed last meeting, around the power outage for the generator prior to it actually occurring. So they were aware they had to have those scenarios in place. So we did confirm that with their operational team. And just further information prior to that last meeting around Rex. At the time the power outage did occur, Rex operations team were informed, and they made the decision at that point in time that they wouldn't fly from Sydney to Broken Hill and take their alternate route via Mildura, on the premise that the power would come on within the next 2 to 3 hours, but they'd made the operational decision to stay in Sydney. As soon as we had word that the power was coming back on, the airport staff got in contact with Rex operations again and notified them that we wouldn't be far away. And then as soon as the power was restored, Rex operations were informed, which is obviously why the plane then left. And I think it was only delayed 2 hours in the end, but they were fully informed right from the period of time from when the generator cabling failed for our backup generator, right up until when we actually had the power outage that caused the issue. And just to confirm with everybody, the backup generator is fully operational as we speak. So there will be no further issues that we can foresee at this point in time. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, General Manager. It was important. We wouldn't like Rex to be saying bad things about council when it's not appropriate, and they confirmed that if that did come out, it certainly wasn't by Rex deliberately. They made it quite clear that the council had been very good in doing what they could in informing Rex Airlines, and it was their own operational decision as opposed to a decision of council. So thank you, General Manager. Yeah, so can we... Oh, the other one that was important, I suppose, is the fruit fly information to the community. If we could just have, I'll explain this actually. We did speak with Ben Walker secretary to Dougal Saunders, and they are very interested in doing what they can to follow up with the fruit fly. It may be too late to get on top of it this year, but the Broken Hill City Council, in partnership with whoever's needed, will ensure that going into the future, we do address the problem with fruit fly, because we can't have Broken Hill end up being a place where fruit fly not only destroys our fruit, but breeds up to a point where we then become a danger to Sunraysia, South Australia, Menindee and every other area. So good that was taken on top board. Councillor Page?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I spoke to my sister today, June. She's lost all her fruit. I've lost all mine, and I'd thank the mayor for making the effort. This problem's been here far too long, has to be dealt with, and it's got to be dealt with. Not just us being responsible, but we need to get back in the system where there's got to be sprays and baits put around. I rang a lot of people this year to get baits and get whatever needed, but a lot of people, I couldn't get a wholesaler to give a price on anything, but it's a huge issue, and I'm glad you're pushing the issue to fix them. You can't fix it this year, but next year we can. We've got to spray in winter and spring. That's when the locust trees and other fruiting plants over that time frame keep the fruit fly alive, and time that comes around, they're already up and flying into your fruit before we even start spraying them.
Would you like to just move a quick motion to have it put on the agenda for our standing committees for next year to come up with a strategy to address it for next year? And
Yes.
that'll include state government and best times to spray, best times to best places to access baits, all that sort of stuff.
And if we can add to that motion that next year we need to be put back into the area which is funded, Mr.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor knows about it, which is funded and dealt with under those regions. We're being taken out of it.
Yeah.
We need to get back in there to get the funding, get the help, and bloody fix it up. It's a huge problem.
You happy to second that, Councillor Brown?
Yes.
Yep, and speak to it.
Yes, I was just going to ask a question about what approaches we've made so far about getting us back into the fruit fly exclusion zone. I mean, to me, that's the most critical thing.
So
that
I'll
we need to
move.
do.
I'll move item 1, which is the questions on notice, and then I'll move a supplementary motion that includes that, and I'll have the general manager explain what he's heard so far from Ben Walker, which I don't think is much, but where we're up to.
So I'm just a little bit confused. So you're going to put questions taken on notice from previous meetings?
Yes, just going to pass that and then move
Okay,
that
because you said
separate.
questions on notice.
Yeah. So questions on notice so item number 1, questions taken on notice at the October and November ordinary council meetings. We have a mover for that, Councillor Page, Councillor Brown. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. And now we have the motion that was moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Councillor Brown. And if you don't mind, General Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Not too much to add other than following our conversation with Minister Saunders' office. We did write to him formally requesting that we are reinstated into the Sunraysia fruit fly exclusion zone, and the importance of that and the effects that it's had since we've been removed from that zone. Obviously, when we were in that meeting, it was quite positive. Minister for Western also being the Minister for Agriculture and fruit fly and biosecurity sitting within his portfolio. So it sounded quite positive and confident that we were going to see an outcome in regards to that early in the new year to a response to council's concerns and inquiries. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you. General Manager, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. We move on to item 2, public forum questions taken on notice. We have a mover for that. Move Councillor Hickey, seconded Councillor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I just had a
Councillor Taylor.
question.
Yep.
For next meeting, and it's regards to an update on the status of the contract with Qantas. We
Yep.
haven't heard on that. I think Councillor Brown asked a question some time ago about it, but we haven't really had an update on that. So if we could have an update for the next meeting.
You're happy with that? Yep. You were still happy to second that, Councillor Turley? Just the motion to accept them?
It's already been, the motion's been moved and seconded by
just the-
councillor Hickey and Brown.
Oh, I said you, but I meant,
It was actually
meant-
the motion itself is asking us for questions on notice for next meeting.
no, this is for the public gallery, public forum questions from last meeting. Item 2, questions on notice. Public forum questions taken on notice at the November ordinary meeting. There's one from Miss Gigi Barb. An email was sent to Miss Barb advising members of the, have been progressive. Last art gallery meeting was in July, so that's the one that's been moved. And can we have a second? Are you happy to second that, councillor Brown? Yep. Councillor Hickey, you wanted to speak to that? Yep.
Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy. I'd just like to actually congratulate, I've spoken to several art gallery owners and congratulate Councillor Chandler on his inaugural speech at the art gallery the other week. That they said to me the other night that you were nervous but you held it all together and they were really happy and there. And I just think it's good. Congratulations and well done. It was a bit of a twofold thing though. Then they came back with that they were absolutely disgraceful behaviour of the vice chair, being Maureen Clark, that she started to clap and carry on in the middle of your speech. They were really, really upset about it and they think that something should be done about it. Now, I don't know what could be done about it and I wasn't there, but this was just came through from them and they really want something to be done.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, I would also like to thank you, Councillor Chandler. I think under hard circumstances at your first presentation, you did a great job and I think you'll be a great president or chairman of the Art Gallery Advisory Committee. So thank you. All those in favour? Councillor, we're just in favour of the report. That was just Councillor Hickey speaking to the thing because it was mention of the Art Gallery Advisory Committee, I assume. Yep. Yeah. So there's nothing added to it.
Just a question. I don't recall the deputy chair of the committee laughing. I was standing next to her. Not in the middle of
I'm
the
not going to
speech,
go
no.
into it, but
No, I
um,
just don't recall that happening.
mm,
So
I don't know.
No,
I just
you know,
I just thankful
Councillor
for
Hickey
the
wasn't there either, so
chairman.
It came from two gallery owners in the town.
Well, the motion is not about condemning anyone. The motion is about accepting the report, so we don't have to debate the merits of what was said. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Questions for the next meeting arising from items on this agenda. So yours, councillor Turley?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm just under the written agenda, item 17 is questions for next meeting. And anyway, so my question again is around, we could have an update on the contract with Qantas, another important service complementing or already great service by Regional Express Airlines. But there was a question asked a couple of months ago and the GM was going to get back to us. And so it'd be good if we could have that information.
Any further questions on notice? No. Move on to item 18, public forum session. The second public forum session is 15 minutes. We'll consider submissions from the public regarding matters that were considered by council at the meeting only. Speakers are allocated 2 minutes. Do we have any speakers that would like to speak? No. Thank you to the public. We now move to confidential matters. There is only one confidential matter, so it won't be long that people will be outside the room. So can we have a mover to go into closed session? Moved Councillor Page, seconded Councillor Gallagher. All those in favour? Carried. Lily and I will go around and have a look. Really good fun. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like Darren. Yeah, I like Darren. He's grown a bit each year. You go for it every day. Yeah. We should make it so General Manager, might read it out.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Report, Broken Hill City Council Report number 281/22 dated December 07, 2022, T22/12 request for tender, Broken Hill Library and Archives Project Construction. Council resolved in confidential one, that Broken Hill City Council Report number 281/22 dated December 7th, 2022 be received. Two, that two tenders were received and that both tenders failed to meet the requirements of the tender in terms of both technical, non-price and price criteria. Three, that in accordance with the New South Wales Local Government Regulation 2021 Division 4, Section 178 3E, Council approved to enter direct negotiations with the preferred tenderer out of the two tenderers being North Construction and Building Proprietary Limited. Four, that subject to recommendation 3, a further report be provided to Council following negotiations on a proposed way forward. Thanks, Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. That brings our meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone, and have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.